Paying to put nitrogen in your tyres is a scam. So let's plagiarise 1989 proto-rapping one-hit wonder Young MC. Let's bust a myth. There are 12.5 million cars on Australian roads. That's 50 million tyres. They're wearing out every 4 years, let's say, and most tyre retailers are busily dry humping your leg to get you to spend $10 a corner to pump up with a miraculous gas, pure nitrogen. It's a $100 million consumer scam. And shame on you for not paying attention at school if you get sucked in to this pseudo-scientific vortex of bullshit. Here are the top 10 reasons why the nitrogen scam cannot be true. This segment is inspired by Jimmy James, who commented thus: "Love the show, but you are so wrong on nitrogen being a scam. I've been using it in my car and motorbike for about 2 years now, and the main benefit for me is the minimal loss in tyre pressure. I used to check my tyres and top up weekly at inaccurate air pumps. Now it's 4 to 5 months between checks. Last check, I lost only 2 psi in my car and none on the bike. That's after 5 months. At Bob Jane, it's $7.50 per tyre for nitrogen, and top-ups are free for the life of the tyre. I live in northern Australia, so I may get more from nitrogen due to the extreme heat. Regardless, I will never go back to air." Jimmy, I have no desire to be disrespectful to you, and I appreciate you watching, but mate, you are wrong. Couldn't be wronger, as a matter of fact, if that's a word. Your experience is hardly scientific proof. If you're leaving 5 months between checks, you obviously don't value your life very highly. Your experience fails just about every test of the scientific method, and moreover, it isn't true because it cannot be true. The nitrogen selling scammers say nitrogen does everything short of cure cancer. Twice the chocolatey flavour, half the calories, plus it prevents tooth decay. I don't think they do that. Did you actually check that? Did you do any research at all? Anyway, they say steering, braking, grip and fuel economy are all enhanced. There's a dramatic reduction in pressure loss. Oxidation of the tyre and corrosion of the wheel are reduced purportedly. There are fewer and fewer blowouts and lower operating temperatures. These things are either insignificantly true, meaning good luck measuring that, or they are outright bullshit. Air, the stuff you're breathing right now, is 78% nitrogen gas. It's 21% oxygen gas and 1% every other gas. So let's break this down. The difference between pure nitrogen and air is only about 1/5 by absolute volume. If the 22% of air that's not nitrogen were completely malignant, plotting the overthrow of your tyres at every opportunity, the Malcolm Turnbull of gases, the maximum improvement on offer would be 22%. So if you need to top up every week, 7 days on air, then you'd need to top up every 9 days on nitrogen. The losses of pressure you were experiencing previously, Jimmy, were far more likely to be the result of poor tyre fitting or leaking valves. And how would you even really know at those, quote, inaccurate service station tyre pumps? At the molecular level, there is a difference in size between nitrogen gas and oxygen gas. Nitrogen's bigger, and bigger is better. The only people who say size doesn't matter are the ones with small gas molecules. Have you ever noticed that? Nitrogen retailers, arseholes, say it's therefore harder for nitrogen to escape by permeating its way through the rubber matrix of the tyre, and there is inevitably some gas loss by permeation through that rubber. That does happen. But the arseholes don't drill down into the detail here, because if they did, it would shoot them in the foot. If you want to measure gas molecules, you need really good eyesight and a tape measure graduated in trillionths of a metre. As it happens, a molecule of nitrogen gas is 300 trillionths of a metre across, and oxygen is 292. So nitrogen is only 2.7% bigger than oxygen. That's not much. Might as well be twins. We're certainly not talking Roseanne and Angelina here. But there is a slight difference in permeation through the tyre. Respected North American consumer advocacy agency Consumer Reports has done a credible nitrogen versus air permeation pressure loss test. That's a mouthful. They took 31 pairs of tyres and filled each pair, one with air and its matching twin with nitrogen, all filled to 31 psi and left outside for 1 year. Here's what they found. On average, the nitrogen-filled tyres lost an average of 0.042 psi every week. Air-filled tyres lost 0.067 psi every week. So here's what this means. Every 15 weeks, the air-filled tyres lost 1 psi, and every 24 weeks, the nitrogen-filled tyres lost 1 psi. And that means if you're losing more pressure than that, you've got a pressure integrity problem, not a gas permeation problem. You've got a leaky valve or poor sealing between the tyre and the rim, or poor structural integrity of the tyre or the wheel. Permeation is not a significant cause of pressure loss in tyres. There is no evidence in the entire gamut of applied physics or chemistry that any particular gas is going to produce a tangible benefit to the dynamic performance of a tyre, or reduce the failures. Cornering, braking, steering, rolling resistance, ride quality, they're all completely irrelevant to which gas you use. Pascal, the guy they named the metric units of pressure after, would be appalled at any suggestion that the type of gas made a difference. Absolutely appalled. The gas in a tyre is merely a source of internal pressure, and pressure is just a force exerted at 90 degrees to the inside of the tyre. It's spread over the entire area. And this is like high school chemistry. Avogadro, Bernoulli, Pascal and Newton. How hard is it? Pressure, load, internal forces, dynamic performance. It's all completely independent of the flavour of gas you choose to put in a tyre. Any gas will do, within reason. CO2, helium, argon, all okay. But if you remember the Hindenburg, it's probably a good idea not to use hydrogen, or propane, or methane. If there's a crash, it's a good idea not to be driving on 4 flamethrowers. And I wouldn't be using chlorine or fluorine anytime soon, or sarin. My favourite nitrogen arsehole scammer's claim is that nitrogen is bereft of oxygen and therefore it won't support corrosion on the inside of the tyre or the wheel. Absolutely true. Brilliant. And absolutely irrelevant and inconsequential operationally. The inside of the wheel is painted. And I've never heard of corrosion on the inside of a steel or alloy rim being significant in terms of the failure or longevity of that rim. Rubber certainly does oxidise, but internal oxidation of tyres is not a factor that affects tyre life. Nobody ever replaces tyres because of internal rubber corrosion. And let's not forget that the outside of the wheel and the tyre are both subjected 24/7 to the full 21% corrosive potential of oxygen in air. And they seem to do quite okay resisting corrosion. Another pseudo-scientific yet bullshit claim is that the pressure will be more constant in terms of the heat input. In other words, you'll get less of a pressure rise in the tyre for any given type of driving if you use nitrogen. Like oxidation, this is technically true, but operationally bullshit. Let's do what Einstein would call a thought experiment and go out on a racetrack on any particular day at any particular temperature, and then let's do a hot lap, a repeatable hot lap. Same speed everywhere, same cornering performance everywhere, same braking performance everywhere. The scientific method. That hot lap is a source of heat energy going into the tyres. The tyres are also losing heat as a result of rolling through the air, but there is a net heat increase because they're working hard, repeatedly. So the pressure of the gas inside the tyres increases, and that's because temperature is directly related to pressure in the range of operational temperatures and pressures you'd have inside a tyre. Ideal gas laws if you study. Pulling the pants down on this bullshit theory, there's only 4% difference in what engineers call the specific heat of air versus the specific heat of nitrogen. And what this means is, if those tyres run on air and they jump from 20 degrees C from cold inflation to 40 degrees C after one hot lap, and they start at 32 psi, they're going to finish at 34.184 psi. Seems reasonable, backed up by credible scientific calculations that have stood the test of time, but only since about 1834. If we replace with nitrogen and go again exactly the same heat input, but 4% fewer degrees in temperature rise, here's what happens. So at the end of the lap, 39.2 degrees C instead of 40. Pressure at the end of the lap will be 34.096 psi. That's less than 1/10 of a psi difference. Credible, real-world example using actual science. If you paid attention at school, you can absolutely confirm these numbers. This is also beautiful and breathtaking in its bullshittery. Nitrogen is lighter than air. Also absolutely true. It is, your worship, lighter, measurably lighter. And less weight, especially less unsprung weight, is a benefit to dynamic performance. And tyres are definitely unsprung weight. Another technically true claim that's brimming with bullshit when you introduce the real world. So let's do that. In fact, nitrogen is slightly under 2% lighter than air. Let's say there's a volume of 20 litres inside a particular tyre and you've got 4 of them on the road. So that's 80 litres. And let's say you've got air at 2 atmospheres in the tyre. So that's 2 atmospheres above 1 atmosphere because 1 atmosphere is a flat tyre, right? It doesn't have a vacuum in there when it goes flat. 80 litres of air at 3 atmospheres weighs about 306 grams. The same amount of nitrogen weighs about 300 grams. The difference, and this is for all 4 tyres, is about 6 grams. That's about the same weight as 2 ping pong balls. Good luck with the lap record if you're banking on using nitrogen for that. More breathtaking bullshit here. Nitrogen is often touted as dry or anhydrous, and this is also absolutely true. But it doesn't really matter because how wet can air get? If it's very hot, like Jimmy's air in Northern Australia, at 40 degrees, air can be almost 5% water vapour. Enough for a really short shower in Lilliput. Of course, if it's only 20 degrees, air can hold less than 5 grams of water, a little bit over a gram in each tyre. Good luck getting wet with that. The heat in Northern Australia can be extreme, Jimmy. Not much fun to live there at times. But it's not chemistry lab extreme heat. Temperature is measured in chemistry from the absolute zero temperature point. It doesn't get any colder than absolute zero. That's minus 273 degrees C, or about minus 459 F, I think. So if it's 20 degrees in southern Oz, and 40 degrees in northern Oz, the temperature difference in terms of its ability to affect the pressure of gases and physical things like that is about 7%. And pretty much all gases are affected equally. Nitrogen, air, they all react the same to temperatures like that. So it's impossible to prosecute a case for nitrogen over air just because you happen to live in a warm place. Up until now, nitrogen was in the category of, it won't help, but it can't hurt. But of course, it does hurt. The biggest problem with nitrogen is the one they never mention. The bullshit pseudoscientific claims grossly overstated by the assholes peddling this stuff for their own commercial benefit is that it motivates people not to check their tyre pressures regularly, and that is disgraceful. There's quite a few problems with that, such as you pick up a nail in the tread, the tyre starts slowly to go flat. You're driving down the highway. The tyre blows out because running underinflated at high speed is the main cause of blowouts. Inconveniently, you veer into an oncoming truck. That's bad. But if you had checked the tyre pressures before setting out, you might notice 3 tyres at 32 psi and 1 at 18. And that might motivate you to inquire why and save your neck as a result, importantly. Bear in mind, you generally can't see serious underinflation in a radial tyre. You need an actual pressure gauge for that, or strange mental powers, or onboard tyre pressure monitoring. Even if that disastrous blowout doesn't happen, the wear rate skyrockets when a tyre is even a little underinflated. And if you've got one underinflated tyre, good luck executing a stable emergency stop or a swerve, avoid, recover manoeuvre around a child or one of those vermin from our coat of arms. It's just not going to happen safely because grip is the other big casualty of underinflation. These nitrogen advocating shitheads are not selling you nitrogen because it's a tangible benefit to you. It's not, because a bunch of scientific luminaries who built the technical world that we enjoy and yet take for granted, they tell us it cannot be, if you bother to listen. This is not a matter of opinion, it's a matter of scientific fact or fantasy. You can believe nitrogen works if you want, but that view is up there with the sun rising in the west tomorrow morning. Nitrogen is not a benefit to you. It's a benefit to the shitheads selling it. It's a quick cash injection up front on top of those new tyres, and it keeps you coming back to the same retailer for more. Neat marketing, huh? The crack cocaine pushers do it exactly that way. The last thing these nitrogen snake oil selling mongrels want is for you to buy your next tyres elsewhere. And peddling this crap is a way of getting you back again and again. It's relationship building, and it's a house built on foundations of intelligence insulting bullshit. I'm John Cadogan. Thanks for watching.